Okay, this I'm making too many videos. I got to study a little bit for tomorrow. Why one more? What we're dealing with in even the last 108,000, what we're talking about is manipulation. Manipulation in media, manipulation in social media, and it's always done for agendas that people have. Though I'm not a big Trump supporter, and I know a lot of people get mad because they think they hate Mr. Trump. I get it. Just like people hated Mr. Obama. So I'm just reading the newspaper. Okay, this is today's Caller Times, which is what's today, Saturday, September 8th. Now they advertise, I've been seeing this, reporters, editors, and photographers create real news. Journalism you can trust. They're actually asking you to help show your support to journalists in local communities and across country who are working tireless to bring you real news. Now, how far did I have to go to see fake news? The next page. Ex-Trump aide gets 2 week sentence for lying to the FBI. That's George Papadopoulos. Now, I covered Mr. Papadopoulos as I try to talk on current events and news. This was just one of the minor corrupt things that have gone on in what we refer to as the Mueller investigation. Now, the Caller Times is indeed manipulating you, in a sense, what we refer to as fake news. Because George Papadopoulos, I didn't even have to just re-Google it or read it or anything. What happened was, when some of the corruption was being exposed in this last year about this investigation, what was exposed was, wait a minute, you seem to have used, meaning the FBI and all, you seem to have used the Russian dossier and all to initiate this investigation. But they had a backup plan. And the media outlets began reporting, actually, it wasn't manipulation that caused us to begin investigating Trump about Russian collusion. But he had a campaign aide, very low level, by the name of George Papadopoulos. And the quote, real news, said this aide of Mr. Trump was in Britain. And he in Britain was spilling the beans that somebody contacted him at a club, at a bar in Britain, and said, we have information, sort of like, and we know that Trump has information about the Russian emails. We know you guys have that. Now, this low-level guy by the name of George Papadopoulos, he actually responded and said, not that I know of, because this man was a very low-level man. So how did he wind up in Britain? Some agency contacted him and said, we're going to pay your expenses, we're going to fly you over to Britain, because you're educated about some type of thing that we want you to write a paper for us, like a college, university thing. Sure, you're going to pay my way, you're going to fly me over there, that's fine. So when he got there, sure enough, at a bar one night, he got drunk, or they got him drunk, and then somebody approached him. Now, it's got the name in the article. And the person who approached him said, like I just told you. And he said, as far as I know, we don't have any information. But that person actually said, the Trump campaign has information about Russian hacked emails. Oh, okay. He does the little job, whatever they asked him to do, flies back to the U.S., and then Mueller's team and our agencies got a hold of him. We heard You were discussing information that the Trump campaign has emails, and now he's under pressure because somebody did approach him, and he lied. He said, no, not that I know of. Gotcha. Who and how did he get over there to Europe? And it was the Mueller, the FBI, the investigators that set him up to go. There was an older man that also worked for the British spy agencies, and he was a professor. He was like in his 70s. And Mueller and those people, in a sting operation, asked this retired British spy, who indeed was a professor over in Britain, to contact George Papadopoulos, like an undercover sting. And it wasn't just to see if he had information. It was that person who said to Mr. Papadopoulos, we have information that the Trump campaign has knowledge of the hacked emails. They planted that in him. He didn't think they did. As far as we know, they didn't have it. And then when the whole trip was set up, everything was set up. And then when he got back, and when the FBI did ask him, he had no idea it was a plant. It was a setup, the whole thing. It actually would have exposed to the FBI, man, I guess Trump really doesn't have this insider information. But they still used the planted evidence, if you will, the statement. Now, does this article tell you any of that? Look how manipulative the quote, support real news, and then the next page that. He admitted now, because they got him under the gun. I made a terrible mistake for which I paid dearly, and I'm terribly ashamed, Papadopoulos said as his sentencing. Papadopoulos admitted last year that he lied to the FBI about interactions in which he thought were linked to the Russian government, described Moscow having thousands of emails. He thought were linked to the because it was the plant. It was that British professor that was planted by the intelligence agencies of the U.S. But he thought. You'd think this article would explain what I just told you, which would have been exposing really what happened there. The message for all of us is to check our and to tell the truth. So he lied about what the plant told him, though they didn't have any knowledge. Prosecutors said in a court filing that Papadopoulos has negatively affected the Russia investigation. That's why it's fake news. They make you think, just by that article, that that was an honest and just thing. But they didn't tell you about this thing. All of that's public information. And the name Joseph Misford, a professor, they put the name, but they don't tell you what I just told you. That's what fake news is. It's manipulating things. It's setting a plant for that man to go there under false pretense. And our undercover agencies were the ones that set him up. And then when they got there, Mr. Papadopoulos, because they kind of got him drunk in a club, they were waiting for him to kind of leak something, but he had nothing to leak. So they sent a spy, retired professor, to go see what he says. And when he doesn't say anything, the FBI undercover spy, if you will, working with our agency, planted it and said to him, we have information that Trump has it. What a setup. And what did he do wrong? When he came back, then is when our agency said, we want to talk to you. Did anybody contact you? He was scared. He said, not that I know of, but their plant contacted him. You see that? And that is considered the other pillar for the proof that this man, Papadopoulos, a former campaign man, was talking, quote, to Russians in Europe on that trip. What a setup. What a setup. And instead of all that I told you, which has come out in the last 8 months, instead of the media admitting, they're still playing with the false narrative to you. They're still doing it. Support real news. People that are telling you the truth. People that are putting things in context for you. Okay? That'll be the last one.